The Adventures of Tom Sawyer by Mark Twain. Longman Simplified English Series. Read by Siriya Boonlert. Chapter 11. On the island. When Tom awoke in the morning, he wondered where he was. He sat up and rubbed his eyes and looked around. Then he remembered it was he could get down, and there was a delightful sense of peace in the deep calm and silence of the woods. That a little dewdrop stood upon the leaf and grass. A white layer of ash covered the fire, and a blue trace of smoke rose straight into the air. Joe and Hank still slept. Down far away in the woods, a bird called another answer. Gradually, the cool dim gray of the morning waned, and as gradual sound multiplied and light revealed itself, the marvel of nature shaking off sleep and going to work unfolded itself to the boy. A little green worm came crawling over a dewy leaf. Tom sat as still as a stone, with his hoofs rising and falling as a creature still came towards him or showed a tendency to go elsewhere. When it finally came down upon Tom's leg and began a journey over him, his whole heart was glad, for the meant that he was going to have a new suit of clothes without a shadow of doubt. A glorious piratical uniform. Now a procession of ants appeared and went about their label. One structure with a dead spider 5 times as big as itself, and ducked its strength up a tree trunk. A tiny spotted beetle climbed up the great height of grass bed, and Tom bent down close to it and said, Lady Bird, fly away home. Your house is on fire, you children alone. Boy, fly, he had long known that the bird was always ready to believe story about flies. The birds were singing merrily by now. One swept down and flashed of blue flame and stopped in branch almost within the boy's wrist. It turned its head to one side and eyed the structure with immense curiosity. Another was wide awake. Long beam of sunlight pierced down through the leafy branches, and a few butterflies came dancing upon the scenes. Tom laughed the other pirates, and in a minute or two they were catching after and falling over each other in the shallow water of the sandbar. The current had carried off their raft, but this only delighted them, since its going was something like burning the bridge between them and civilizations. They came back to camp wonderfully refreshed and as hungry as whales. They soon had the campfire brushing off again. Huck found a spring of clear, cold water close by, and the boys made cups of leaf. Tom and Huck stepped to a promising place on the river bank and threw in their fishing lines almost immediately. They had their reward enough feed for a family. They fried the fish and were astonished, for no fish had ever seemed so delicious before. They did not know that the quicker a freshwater fish is on the fire after it a cut, the better it is, and they did not stop to think that sleeping, exercise, and bathing in the open air had given them an excellent appetite. They lay about in the sheds after breakfast, while Huck had a smoke, and then went off through the woods, exploring. They found plenty of things to be delighted with, but nothing to be astonished at. They had a swim every hour, so it was about the middle of the afternoon when they got back to camp. They were too hungry to stop to fish, but they had a good meal of meat and threw themselves down in the shade to talk. But the talk soon began to drown and then dry the quietness that hung over the woods, and the sense of lone loneliness began to have an effect on the spirits of the boys. Awake, longing crept upon them. This took dim shape presently. It was budding homesickness. Even Finch, the red hand, was dreaming of his doorstep and his empty barrels, but they were all ashamed of their weakness, and none was brave enough to say what was in his mind. For some time now, the boys had heard a peculiar sound in the distance. On hearing a louder sound, the boys started, glanced at each other inquiringly, and listened. There was a long silence, deep and unbroken. Then a dull sound came floating down out of the distance. "What it is?" asked Joy in a whisper. "Let's go and see," said Tom. They sprang to their feet and hurrying to the bank facing the village. They passed the bus and peered out. The little steam ferry boat was not transporting people from bank to bank as usual, but was about a mile below the village. Her deck seemed crowded with people. There were many small boats being rowed about or floating with the current in the neighborhood of the ferryboat. Bunny boys could not see what the men in them were doing. After a time, there was a puff of white smoke from the side of the ferryboat, and as it floated in a rosy cool that same that sound was burned to the listener again. "I know now!" exclaimed Tom. "Somebody's drowned." "That it," said Huck. "They did that last summer when Bill Turner was drowned." They shouted a beacon over the water, and the body come up to the surface. The boys continued to listen, and was then a revealing thought fast to Tom's mind, and he exclaimed, "Boys, I know who are thou. We are." They felt like heroes. In an instant, they were missed. They were being whipped over. Hearts were breaking for them, and best of all, they were the talk of the whole town, and the envy of all the boys. This was glorious. It was worth while being a pirate after all. As twilight drew on, the ferry boat went back to her accustomed business, and the rowing boat disappeared. The pirates returned to camp. They were swollen with vanity over their new importance and the great trouble that they were catching. They caught fish, cooked supper, and ate it, and then began to guess what the village was thinking and saying about them. But when the shadows of night closed round them, they gradually ceased to talk and sat gazing into the fire, which they might evidently wondering elsewhere. The excitement had gone now, and Tom and Joe could not keep out thoughts of certain persons at home who were not enjoying their fine adventure as much as they were. A sigh or two escaped unwares. Tom said Joe hesitatingly, "Pirates do go home sometime, don't they?" Tom poured scorn upon him. Huck had not said a word on the subject, and was therefore free to join in with Tom. Joe made excuse and firmly denied that he was suffering from homesickness, or that he wished to desert. As the night deepened, Huck began to nod, and presently fell asleep. Joe followed next. Tom lay watching the two for some time. At last he got up cautiously, and went searching among the grass in the dim light of the campfire. He picked up and inspected several large pieces of the thin white bark of a tree, and finally close to. Then he knelt by the fire and wrote something on each of these in pencil. One he rolled up and put in his coat pocket, and the other he put into cup, together with certain invaluable schoolboy treasures, amongst them a piece of chalk, a rubber ball, fish hooks, and a special kind of marble. Then he tiptoed away.